This is a stimulus update and daily news report. Got some important updates to share with you. $250 stimulus checks have just been proposed by lawmakers, and up to $1,700 stimulus checks are going out to millions of Americans. When it comes to inflation, I'll let you know what the Biden administration is doing about it. I'll play a video clip from the economic advisor. President Biden under fire for giving out 5 million barrels abroad instead of using that for here in the US. And I'll give you some other more important updates like what's going on with Joe Manchin, Build Back Better, and a few other things. Hope you're having a wonderful weekend. If you appreciate the fact-based, fast-paced updates, hit the like button down below. So I want to get your opinion on this. Really curious what you think. So Florida's death row inmates received thousands of dollars from stimulus checks. So they received the stimulus checks, and I don't think the state has taken it back yet. I want to know your opinion on this. Should inmates, especially on death row, be able to receive stimulus checks, or should that money go back to the state or people who need the money the most? Let me know your thoughts on that. Really curious what you think. When it comes to President Biden, so President Biden under fire for letting 5 million barrels of oil go overseas as U.S. prices hit record highs. So basically, he's being criticized for saying that the price of gas needs to go down, and why is the oil going abroad when it could be used here. Take a look at this video clip right here explaining more.
Anytime there are a lot of head scratchers that we often report to you, this one really head scratchy. The White House reportedly sending 5 million barrels of our reserve oil that you pay for with your taxpayer dollars to Europe and Asia. President originally said that oil would be released to you to help lower the price of your gas here in America.
Neil Crabtree was laid off when President Biden killed the Keystone XL pipeline, and he joins us now. Neil, good morning to you. What do you make of this 5 million barrels of oil from the strategic reserve that the president sent to countries like China? 5 million barrels is a relative drop in the bucket, all things considered, but I think a lot of people assume that oil would be staying here. Is this a big deal to you?
Well, exporting oil, I think it's something that the United States needs to be a leader in. The problem is where this oil's coming from. This president's made it, a habit to get into this reserve quite a few times now, and we've still got 3 more months of him drawing out 1 million barrels a day, and we're already down to levels in the reserve we ain't seen since probably 1986. And the question is, what are we going to do after that's over with? We can't just keep dipping into this. We've got to find some solutions to the real problem. Is the world is demanding more oil, and we got a government that's limiting the ability to get it.
Keep in mind what this is actually labeled is the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. The strategy is to allow us to have gas in case we are in a situation where we desperately need it. Let's think national security, wartime, things along those lines. We are potentially, to your point, Neil, depleting that to a level that could make us strategically vulnerable, and that is concerning.
Where do you stand on that 5 million barrels going abroad? Should that be used in the U.S., or is it okay to sell that because it helps the economy, or should it be used in the U.S. for the gas crisis that we have here? Let me know your thoughts on that. Democrats try to build back a bit better. So what's going on here? The Manchin show, what's in, what's out? Where do we stand with that? Not too much has been done, but we keep seeing a bunch of articles like this coming out on a daily basis, starting to see a lot more publicity on it. So the EV incentives that was going to offer, electric vehicle incentive that was going to offer up to $7,500 discount is now out of the bill. And then also there is a methane bill that they're trying to work out with oil and gas companies. They're trying to cap the Medicare cost up to $2,000. So that's where we stand as of now. Yeah, that's all they're giving us. So I'll keep you more updated on that. When it comes to stimulus news, Massachusetts lawmakers want to give residents $250 checks to offset sky-high prices. So Massachusetts lawmakers rolled out a plan to provide direct payments to residents. Individuals would be eligible for a one-time $250 check, and married couples would get a $500 check. Those earning above $38,000 qualify, and high earners are excluded. So this is one of the rare stimulus checks where you have to make more than $38,000. So basically, the plan would provide a single round of payments to all taxpayers who earned at least $38,000 in 2021. It would cut off eligibility for single earning above $100,000, and basically double that for a $500 stimulus check for couples. So basically, if you make between $38,000 and $100,000, you could get a $250 check. What are your thoughts on that? Usually we see it where there's no minimum and people get stimulus checks, where it's helping out the lowest income, hardest struggling people. What are your thoughts on that type of stimulus check? Let's go over the stimulus checks that are going on right now. So 6 states sending direct payments worth up to $1,700 to millions of Americans. Are you eligible for stimulus funds? So I'll go through this really quick. What's going on here in Illinois? There are, if I could get to it. Okay. So Chicago will issue 50,000 prepaid gas cards of $150 and 100,000 prepaid transit cards of $50 under the program. Indiana giving out $125 per person, $250 per married couple. Iowa is going to give out a one-time stimulus check of $1,400 under the Direct Assistance Program. And then Maine is going to give out $850 for singles, $1,700 for couples. Ohio, one-time $350 payment. Then Oregon sending $600 stimulus checks to more than 236,000 residents. That is, those are to low-income workers. And yeah, that is it for those stimulus checks. Yep, that's it for that. And then when it comes to inflation, Biden's laser focus on inflation rankles progressives inside administration. So progressives are not too happy with the way that President Biden is handling at least the messaging part of inflation. Obviously, nobody wants to have inflation and pay higher prices, but how President Biden is communicating, it looks like a lot of progressive Democrats are not too happy with it. So a lot of people were frustrated by the rollout and by the idea that they were going to try to Paul Volcker our way out of this problem. Yeah, so in other words, progressives not too happy with the way President Biden is talking, but what is being done and what can be done. Take a look at the economic advisor talking about inflation. Take a look right here.
I would suggest the price theory is going in your direction. There's little indications that maybe the pain is over. Not all clear, but can you say there's some constructive elements out there that you see?
Well, look, to start out, prices are unacceptably high. We are also seeing some moderation, and that moderation is important. You've seen it in core PCE, the metric that the Fed traditionally relies on, moderation over the last 3 months, particularly compared to the prior. And as you mentioned, we're seeing for the typical American consumer, a little bit of relief at the gas pump. Prices down to about $4.75, down from, down more than 25 cents. But let's be clear, they're still unacceptably high. We've got a long way to go. And so we got to keep our head down and keep a focus on bringing prices down while not giving up all the economic gains that we've made.
One of our wonderful guests, Jim Bianco of Chicago, wore a whip inflation now button on the show the other day. You people have avoided the idiocy of the early 1970s. But with that, the president has to provide a morale boost to people hammered by inflation. How do you do that?
It's not just a morale boost. We have to act, and we have to show action on behalf of the American people, and that's exactly what the president is doing. He's saying bringing prices down is his top priority, and every day he's focused on practical things that he can do. So the release of oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve sounds esoteric to people, but oil market analysts you've had on this show will say it was single-handedly responsible for keeping oil prices going higher. Moving to work with the refineries to try to keep refinery capacity online, that is important and makes a difference. And as we're starting to see a little bit of that moderation at the pump. The president is saying, let's do more. Let's do everything we possibly can. He called for a temporary holiday for the gas tax. That's not going to solve every issue. That would make a little bit of difference as well. So you need a president who's going to keep at it and who's going to communicate clear to the American people that we are making progress, that we have made enormous economic progress, but that he's not satisfied and we're going to stay at it.
You're not satisfied either, but you've talked about a higher goal. You've talked about defending the world liberal order and that we had to stand firm. What did you mean by that?
Well, let's be very clear. That's a concept that Republicans and Democrats have embraced for years, and it's about democracy. It's about the democracy and the democratic tradition that grew out of World War II and that has served our national security interests and economic interests well. And standing up for democracy is something that this president feels strongly about. And so we are going to fight to bring prices down. We're going to fight to get increased oil supply on the market. But what we're not going to do is to suggest that the only way to do that is to actually step away from the Ukrainian people, to step away from fighting for democracy and everything that believes.
If standing up for democracy is truly paramount, and you've quite clearly just suggested it is, why is this administration considering removing tariffs on the Chinese Communist Party, which is anything but a democracy, and is also a government that you've accused of genocide? Why is that a consideration? And how does that reconcile with this view that this is about standing up for democracy?
Our economic policy should be about promoting economic security for American workers, American businesses, American families. And so we have to look at everything through that lens. In the prior administration, they took an approach to escalating trade tensions and a trade war with China that ultimately didn't serve that purpose, didn't help our farmers and our ranchers, didn't help many sectors of the economy. So President Biden came into office committed to the proposition that we need to get tough on China. There are places where we need to be tougher and clearer about their non-market practices, about their human rights abuses. But we also need to be smarter about how to do this as well.
Why is that smarter? And let's go back to the question again and lay things out clearly. You've accused the Chinese Communist Party of genocide. You're saying that what is paramount here is defending democracy, and that defending the liberal world order is more important than the pain that people feel at the pump. And ultimately, this administration is considering removing tariffs. I wasn't convinced by the last answer. I don't think many others will either. This is an awkward moment, I know, but I really need to understand from you why it makes sense for this administration to consider removing tariffs on a country that you're accusing of genocide.
First of all, I want to you mischaracterized my position, so I want to clarify.
Please do.
Bringing prices down for the American people is the president's top priority. He's focused on it every day, and it's because he understands the pain that people are feeling at the gas pump and around the kitchen table. At the same time, he does not believe that the way to do that would be to step back from our democratic values or to step back from protecting the Ukrainians against the invasion from Vladimir Putin. He does not believe that that is an acceptable or an appropriate choice. So, given that, our focus is on how can we actually advance the ball. And you're seeing the president in action right now doing that. The actions that he's taken around oil supply, the actions that he has taken around refineries, the actions that he is calling for around tax reductions, they all would make a difference, and they make a difference for American families.
Let's sit on China just for one final question and try and focus on policy, and I appreciate your follow-up answer. Let's talk about what you can do, because what we understand is that you're looking to remove some tariffs on certain goods, but perhaps double down the effort elsewhere. Can you give me a deeper understanding of where the current thinking of this White House is and the direction of travel for policy?
Well, there's no question that if you look at what the Chinese economy and the non-market practices that the Chinese leadership are undertaking, that there are sectors of the economy where they are engaged in unacceptable activities and that those present a strategic risk to our economy and our national security. And so those are the places where we need to focus on using all of the tools at our disposal. Tariffs are one tool, but we have other tools as well to make sure that we are protecting key sectors of the American economy and that we are holding to account for those. You look at something like semiconductors, which we've talked about before, and which is incredibly salient. We, of course, need to act here in the United States to invest in building our own domestic resilience, but we also have to take seriously that some of the actions that China are taking expose us more deeply, and we need to counter those.
What are your thoughts on that? Do you agree, disagree? Is the Biden administration doing everything they can to knock down inflation, or is it just uncontrollable and nobody can do anything about it? Let me know your thoughts on that. That is all the news that I have for you today to hopefully cheer you up a bit. Here's my daughter Bella's tip of the day.
Hi guys, how are you doing? Hi guys, how are you doing? I want to give you 3 things of the tip of the day. So first off, be happy, be grateful, and be humble. And then I want to do one more thing to you. Do the things that you want to do in a lifetime. Guys, you guys can do whatever you want, at least if you want to do it. because that I'm here for you. You guys like us.
Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you have an amazing weekend, a great time. I'm going to go play some pickleball. Friends are having a little pickleball tournament at the courts nearby, so I'm going to do that and then probably go to the beach with my family. Hopefully you have a great rest of your day, rest of your weekend. If you want to check out any of my other videos or my other channels, you could click up here, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, be safe. Thank you for watching.